Good day guys, nice to have you here. Today we'll talk about some of the best picks for the month of October 2022. These heroes were based on official data from the developers, original server and advanced server updates, and also feedback from former and current Mythical Glory players. Also, these heroes were grouped according to their primary roles officially listed on the game, not the lanes or areas they're ideally played in. And finally, we'll also share some recommendations for each hero that will certainly help you gain more wins. If you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like, share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Atlas is one of the tanks with the highest base defensive stats in the game, making him a formidable roaming support from the get-go. He also has one of the most number of control effects and is capable of disrupting clashes, using his control abilities as early as level 1 and greatly becomes effective at level 2 because of his mobility thanks to his second skill. And because the developers decided to increase the defensive growth of all heroes including Atlas, he's even more formidable now. While it's true the buff the developers implemented wasn't very high, but during the laning phase, such buff is relevant especially for a hero like Atlas who is naturally tanky. Using Franco's hook, he can be very useful in disrupting the enemy jungler's progress. Just make sure to utilize your minimap and camera in hovering over key areas in order to find out where the jungler is. Not only that, his ultimate inflicts suppression on one enemy, which is the most powerful type of control effect since it cannot be cleansed. In the right hands, Franco is capable of consistently delivering a 5 vs 4 disadvantage against the enemy team. Akai is still one of the prime choices. He can be useful as a support and a tank carry. With the right strategy, he can counter tactics such as the ultimate Ube strategy and most other formations because of his powerful knockback effect. For a tank, he is also very mobile and can bypass defenders quickly, which enables him to disable and ultimately kill key targets. Leslie is one of our rising stars. After receiving a revamp, her ability to inflict tremendous damage has been unreal. Now, not only is she capable of dealing high critical damage, her critical damage can now bypass defenses because of its true damage piercing capabilities. She also now has a very dynamic build path. You can choose to give her attack speed equipment in order to get advantage against high sustained damage marksmen, or build her with burst damage in mind in order to deal tremendous poke damage against most targets, including tanks. Beatrix received nerfs which affected her damage output by slowing down her reload time and decreasing her damage. The good news is she is still pretty potent and can still be a problem mid-game onwards. She can be a very effective jungler and in my opinion suits a dual fighter lineup where two fighters play on the side lanes while she is leashed by a roaming support through the jungle. Given the early game nerfs she received, giving her the orange and purple buff early could balance up her weaknesses. Clint will remain to have good traction next month because of how hard the nerfs other powerful marksmen receive, especially Beatrix and Wanwan. In addition to that, Clint has a good combination of control skills and mobility. What also sets him apart is the skill animation. His attacks fall instantly and there's a very small window to react against his skill shots, unlike other marksmen that have very projected skill casts. In addition to that, his attacks are so bursty, he doesn't even need too much damage equipment anymore. Poquito was never really weak. In my opinion, he just hovered around the top 5 to top 10 ranking, but in the month of October, things could be different and we could see him more frequently. One of the main reasons is because of Athena Shield's tremendous buff it received. Having heroes with tremendous physical sustained damage and tanky builds such as Poquito will be a good way of mixing up a team's lineup. Not too many heroes can deal so much damage with very short skill cooldown, excellent mobility, and a skill set that does not rely on too much damage equipment. With Poquito, 1 to 2 damage equipment is enough to wreak havoc. Julian is still a very powerful contender, especially when teamed up with the likes of Poquito, Atlas, and other heroes that are capable of control locking multiple targets. Because of the nerfs he received though, he is only really ideal as a jungler and may need more help in tearing down enemies on the early game. You can either build him with cooldown reduction in order to balance off his nerfs, or play him with burst damage in mind. Remember though, Athena's shield was greatly buffed, so don't expect too many insta-kills. This time around though, his true strength lies in his late game potency because his skill cooldowns were increased on the earlier phases but decreased a little on the late game. And with CDR equipment, the new 6.5 second base cooldown he has can be very oppressive, especially in clutch situations. Masha will still rock the month of October because of her very tanky skill set. Just make sure to build according to the situation and the enemy team's lineup. Either you get her nothing but defensive items or a mix of damage items is up to you. What also makes her great is her outstanding objective taking capabilities. If you're playing her as a jungler, I strongly suggest getting Demon Slayer for the bonus damage you deal against creeps and major objectives such as the Lord. Otherwise, you can focus more on defensive emblems and get more HP bonuses and play her as a roamer. Chang'e will become a threatening hero because of Glowing One's buff. Besides, Athena's shield was tremendously buffed, so burst mages may not be as potent in October as before. Unlike other mages, Athena's shield is not as effective against Chang'e. Oh, and yes, in case you're not aware yet, the buff of Glowing One enables it to increase the magic damage taken by the targets of its user. I was a bit torn whether Valir should be on our top 3 mages, but I have a strong feeling he will be of greater relevance, especially on the higher ranks. Valir is here because of the same reason as Chang'e. He too deals continuous or sustained magic damage which greatly benefits from Glowing Wand, and same as Chang'e, Athena's shield is not as effective against Valir. What makes him formidable is his annoying control effects. The man can stun, slow, and push back enemies. To make matters worse for his enemies, his ultimate has a cleansing effect, rendering most control-reliant heroes less useful. Valentina will still be a feared part of the meta in October. She received a nerf which no longer allows her to automatically gain max stacks from hero abilities such as Wanwan's ultimate or rage-based ultimates such as Minotaur. In my opinion though, it's not really that much of a big deal and it's an adjustment that's only fair. Despite that, her ability to counter or nullify most other heroes' abilities have been and will always be superb. She adapts well against most any lineup and works great both as an XP laner and a mid laner. Just make sure to hit enemies with her skills as much as possible in order to gain XP advantage and scale faster than everybody else. Diggy, in my opinion, was never really irrelevant. His niche pick not because he's bad, but simply because he has a very specific purpose, and that is to counter control abilities. A lot of the heroes we have on this list thrive because of their control effects, and who else is better at lessening the impacts of such control abilities? With the slight improvement in defensive growth, healer supports are more powerful now because 1. Their allies can survive more, and 2. They themselves have greater survivability than before. I'm not saying the improvement is too much though, but it definitely is sufficient, especially since Estes can greatly heal himself and his allies. Faramis, in my opinion, is one of the best, if not the best, support right now. His ultimate prevents himself and his allies' deaths, which creates a very unfair advantage against the enemies. I strongly believe that, same as the previous months, he will be one of the most banned heroes in October. I mean, just imagine giving your allies and yourself one-time immortality. I choose that over any type of healing ability. Natalia is amazing as both a jungler and aggressive roamer. Her ability to become invisible comes in handy in providing vision and can become a problem in any part of the game. Because of how aggressive she is expected to play, that means she is always in a very vulnerable position within the enemy territory. This means she is ideally picked in a lineup with a tanky hero who can help her survive. If she is playing as a roamer, she should be invading together with a tanky jungler. If she's played as a jungler, then she should be accompanied by a tanky roamer. Ling is still going to be a good go-to assassin for the month of October. He's an excellent picker of the enemy backlane because of his mobility and shines best as an objective taker. With perfect timing, his ultimate plus retribution can guarantee the objective and link safety at the same time. Karina has been a tremendous threat for many weeks and is still expected to perform very well in October. Whether you build her with high defensive stats, a mix of both defense and magic power, or as a burst mage assassin, she will be one of the go-to junglers and can really impact the battle regardless of how low or high your rank is. Just make sure to use your skills wisely and target low HP or squishes first. The sooner you recycle her ultimate, the better. There you go, those are the heroes that I think will leave a mark next month. What do you think? If you were to replace some of the heroes on this list, who would it be and who will you replace it with? Leave your thoughts on the comment section below, and if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe everyone. Peace.